Lakers back where they belong, on top of the mountain, and happy to play my part. Obviously this team is about the legacy of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and the rest of our guys' ability to buy into being stars in their roles. And obviously, you lose Kobe Bryant and Gigi Bryant the way we did this year. It's just devastating to the basketball world, but in particular to the city of Los Angeles and the sports fans of the city of Los Angeles. So, it was a heavy-hearted season, and one that we're just thankful to be able to bring this type of joy to our fan base and bring a championship back to the city of LA.
Congratulations, Coach Frank Vogel did an outstanding job. Mike Trudell, we have not seen you since the Lakers won the title, and you were in your green room doing work, and now you've had time to kind of marinate on this for a little bit over a week and kind of see your family and your friends and probably talk a lot about it on podcasts and radio shows. What are some of your thoughts about this championship run?
Well, my grand summary of the season is that the Lakers were the best team all the way through. And I think they started to win over some people with that run in March when they beat the Clippers and the Bucks. And then once they got to the bubble, everybody made way too big of a deal out of how they played in what was essentially preseason games for them. But from that Portland series to Houston, on through Denver and Miami, when this team played their best game, they couldn't be beaten. No. They just couldn't. And I think what's exciting, not only about the fact that they won the title, but the core, they have such a clear style now that they've figured out. And not that you don't need one every night when you have LeBron and AD, when you have guys that are that dominant, but they know now when they get to that level defensively that we saw in that Game 6, which was just incredible. The best defense that we've seen from any Lakers team in any kind of recent postseason history. They've got a real chance to do this again next year.
Brez, last time you were here celebrating a title, that Sunday night, you had a cigar in your mouth, still recovering. You've had time as well to think about it. You've done a couple shows. What are your thoughts about this championship?
You know what I like about this team? It overcame adversity in almost every series. Not a ton. It's not like they were down 3-1 in any of them, but lose game 1 to Portland, Laker fans freak out. Lose the first game to Houston, same thing. Laker Nation a little unsettled. Of course, Denver, they kind of made that a series. In Miami, same thing. Lakers up 3-1. Jimmy Butler goes nuts. It made it a little uncomfortable. Each time the Lakers, and in particular Anthony Davis, in his first finals ever, responded the appropriate way with wins. And I was just really impressed by the fact that not only was he good, but LeBron James steady all throughout the entire playoff run. From a guy who's getting up there in years a little bit, but you would not have predicted that. He had the run that he did. It was spectacular. Really.
One thing that sticks out for me thinking about this title, you don't always win when you have the best chemistry or the best players or you're the best overall team. But this Laker team had it all. And what they kept showing us, as you mentioned, defensively and in all those series, their versatility. They were able to play so many different ways. Really a special group. You guys were around the last 3 titles. Brez, where do you put this one?
I'd say this reminds me a lot of 2009. All right, the Lakers back then had a superstar in Kobe Bryant. Obviously, LeBron James is that guy this time around. Lakers had a big man who had relatively recently joined the team in Pau Gasol. And obviously, AD's that guy this time. Some good role players. No D-Fish on this team, but obviously KCP stepped up and did some really good work. Rondo as well. So I really think these two teams were very comparable as far as what they had to do, and kind of also an unexpected opponent in the finals. Everyone thought we'd finally get Kobe and LeBron back in 2009. Everyone was thinking Lakers-Bucks a few months ago in the finals. Both times, though, the Lakers stood up and won.
Brez was picking the Bucks.
I thought they were going to the
finals.
You're sick
of them, aren't you?
Yeah, done with that. They're toast.
He wasn't alone there, though. A lot of people were on the Bucks.
90% of us.
I'm like, did you guys watch them play in the postseason last year? They still got some stuff to figure out.
How did I make that mistake?
But again, it wasn't a bad pick. I mean, so Brez mentioned the 2008-09 Lakers team, and that was my first year covering. So they win 65 games. This Laker team, I think, would have won 64 or 65 games based on what their schedule was when things, of course, when COVID hit. They were better in the playoffs, though, than that Lakers team was, not by a lot. So in 08-09, they go 16-7. This team was 16-5. The competition relatively similar. Like, they didn't have any walkover teams that they played against. It was impressive. They had that #1 star with Kobe and LeBron. They had the excellent big man #2 with AD and Powell, and then a bunch of good, smart veteran role players. I do think that this season's team was a little bit better defensively, and so they had that card to go to. Whereas in 08-09, they were better than everybody they played, but it wasn't like they just completely overwhelmed you defensively. They could score whenever they wanted to. They could get whatever shots they wanted to, but it is an interesting parallel to draw. The only difference being that they had 2 fewer playoff losses, but again, the bubble was so unique. It's tough to compare this season to anything in any other sport.
You're going to remember this title for a long time because of everything that everyone went through.
Sure.
Right? Jeanie Buss also joined ESPN LA 710 for Celebration Monday, and she shared some thoughts on her relationship with LeBron and spoke about how impactful he has been as a leader both on and off the court.
You know, I've never seen anybody quite like LeBron in terms of his leadership. He holds people accountable, and he knows how to bring out the best of everybody because he demands it of himself. So he leads by example. And, you know, he really came to Los Angeles. You know, he wasn't drafted here. He came as a free agent. And, you know, I think some people were worried about his commitment, but he wanted to come to our team, to the Lakers team, to help us put the team back to where they are. And when he hugged me on the court right after the final game, that's what he said to me. You know, we accomplished what we set out to do. And it's that kind of leadership that, you know, he's fearless. He stands up for what's right. He won't be bullied into, you know, just, you know, keeping his mouth shut and dribbling. You know, he is a leader of basketball, but he's a leader in humanity. And I couldn't be more proud that he's in a Laker jersey.
LeBron fulfills another promise. How special this one must be for both LeBron and Jeanie and Brez. Knowing how much LeBron appreciates the history of the game, how much do you think he values this title?
Well, this would be second on his list. I mean, you got to go back 4 years ago. He got Cleveland that ever elusive NBA championship. The city was thirsting for one. Obviously, he grew up around there. That was a big deal for him. This is important. He understands that the Lakers need to catch and possibly eventually pass the Boston Celtics. And they got the first step down. It had taken a while to finally catch Boston. They had a big head start. They were very, very good back in the, 50s, 60s.
Long time ago, Mike.
Long time ago, before any of us were born. But this is big, and LeBron gets it. He really understands the need to catch those Celtics, Mike.
Isn't that nice to have 4 championships to be able to pick amongst, right? To figure out which one was meaningful.
This one's here, this one's here. But you love them all for sure. It's like your kids.
And I've heard him say before, there is something about that first one, right? Getting that monkey off his back, a dominant player. But up until that point, there were all of those questions of can LeBron really lead a team, you know, to a championship? And then how much did Dwayne Wade lead the team? So there's some of that in there. But I think this goes back to the earlier topic, Chris, and just how unique this season was. And then also just the Kobe element to it in how much that drove this team, how much that drove LeBron, who, you know, again, Brez and I being on that plane, and then Geeter talking to you the next day, like he had just passed Kobe on the scoring list in Philly, and then exchanged the last tweet that Kobe sent, like, was about that, and then to go from that and find a way to push through that pain, to push through COVID, to push through the Black Lives Matter and social injustice, and then start More Than a Vote. And all the while through, guess what he did? Just deliver triple doubles on 56% shooting at age 35 in year 17 with all of that on his mind. Like, that to me is sort of the legacy that he brings in this, is that he's still every game. Did he have a bad game in the postseason?
I don't remember one.
I don't think so, right?
No.
Like, he didn't even have an off day. And that's with all this stuff going on. So it's remarkable.
He just continues to add to that legacy, right, Brez? I mean, you think about the 4 finals MVPs, but 3 of them are with different teams. It's hard enough to win 1, but to be the best player on 3 different teams, that stat always just jumps out at me. It's so impressive.
People compare him to MJ, and I get it. You know, MJ went 6-0 in the finals, but LeBron did not have the luxury of what MJ had. Pretty much the same core throughout that entire 90s run. I mean, not a lot of big free agency movement back then. I had the same coach the entire time, same city, obviously. It helps to have Pippen and Rodman there for those rides. So, yeah, MJ did some good things, but he didn't have the stability.
That's an understatement, Brad.
Yeah, he
did some
was
good
all right.
things.
He was all right. But he didn't have the stability that LeBron did. LeBron knowingly and willingly jumped from city to city, and what he's done, connecting dots throughout the country, has been really impressive.
Trudell, you're 17, 35, global pandemic, bubble. There's a lot there, lot to unpack. Kobe, you mentioned. Most impressive year of his career? You could argue it.
You definitely could.
Yeah.
I think to maintain that level of performance, right, every game, to have a mental mastery of basketball where when he gets on the floor, he knows exactly what the team needs to do defensively. He knows exactly how to get anybody on the team that he wants a shot. That to me is more impressive. Now, the only difference that the only kind of counterpoint to that is that he also had the best team.
Yeah.
And that's not been the commonplace thing for LeBron.
True.
I think he did in Miami, right? But when he was in Cleveland, think about what that Warriors team had to be down 3-1. So that to me is probably his most impressive basketball accomplishment just for what he was going against. But the way that he played, he couldn't have done much better than he did. And at this stage of his career, pretty remarkable.
A lot of superstars in Hollywood and in the music industry and all over the world, they love the Lakers. And, of course, superfan Snoop Dogg loves the purple and gold. And he loves them so much, he got tatted up to celebrate the chip.
As you see, tat is done. KB on the bottom, Kobe Bryant. Larry O'Brien championship trophy with the Lakers going through the ball. Gates of heaven up top, and it don't stop. Laker Nation.
So good, Snoop-a-loop.
Thought he was going to go with the Swag L tat
It's just
there.
too good. The Swag L's on the other side.
That's a deep cut. Swaggy P's game winner in Atlanta.
Swag L. We'll be back with more after the break. But first, we'll look back at Snoop on the play-by-play in San Antonio.
When you talk about Laker fans, there's no bigger, better Laker fan than Snoop.
Lake Show. Yeah.